They're going to be facing off against Adam Wallace, Ryan Donkin, and Mitchell Garrant. As you see, our feature match, Grixis Phoenix versus Elves. Haven't seen a lot of Elves lately, Todd.
No, we haven't. And I think that is definitely due to the Deathrite Shaman banning. Deathrite Shaman was a solid alternate win condition for this Elf strategy, utilizing the Deathrite Shaman with various untapped abilities. And also just gave it an angle of attack for graveyard-based decks whenever it came off against Reanimator or things like that. But without access to Deathrite Shaman anymore, it might be some tough sledding here for Adam Wallace against this Grixis Arclight Phoenix deck.
Adam Wallace going to lead on Green Sun Zenith 4-0, allowing him to search up that horrible, horrible Dryad Arbor, which I hate more than any card in the history of Magic.
It's not Adam Wallace's fault.
That's true. 100% not Adam Wallace's fault. He did not create the Dryad Arbor. But, man, do I hate that Dryad Arbor.
I don't know who did.
Yep.
But I'm mad.
Tommy Ashton taking the turn back, playing Underground Sea, Dark Ritual. What's the follow-up here for Tommy Ashton? Looking for an explosive first turn.
Yeah,
3 black mana floating. How about a Cabal Therapy targeting Adam Wallace?
And I believe, wow, okay. Let's see what he named. We're going to get confirmation from the judge here in just a second. Named Glimpse the Unthinkable. That's a big whiff.
Glimpse of Nature.
Glimpse of Nature, I'm sorry. That's a big whiff. But with Adam Wallace already, it looks like on a mulligan to 6. And it looks like Tommy Ashton actually has a second copy of Cabal Therapy in hand. You can bet he's going to be stripping 1 card away from Adam Wallace right after this.
Yeah, interesting to see what Tommy takes if he's casting another Cabal Therapy. Nothing really threatening in Adam Wallace's hands, short of really Natural Order is the card that could be most problematic towards Tommy's plan. Ooh. But he is casting Cabal Therapy targeting himself. What do you think he's naming here?
Pretty sure he named Arclight Phoenix.
Yeah, I think that's
right. And that's going to hit 2 copies in his hand, allow him to put those in the bin. That's the 3rd instant or sorcery for the turn. 2 Phoenix coming back, swinging it for 6. Adam already down to 14.
Yeah, and Tommy, of course, with access to flashback Cabal Therapy if he finds it necessary, if he thinks Natural Order is a threat. Going to work on the clock, end of things for now. Beats down to 14, gets a return attack from Dryad Arbor,
Ryan,
1 damage.
I'm gonna tell you a secret here.
Tell me the secret.
You think last turn was good?
Next turn's going to be better.
Next turn, if Tommy draws a castable instant or sorcery,
correct,
he's going to take the 2 best cards out of Adam's hand.
Yep.
And return both those Phoenix after that therapy. Let's see what he drew.
Did he hit it? Did he get the castable instant or sorcery?
It looks blue. Looks like a preordain.
I mean, that will certainly do the trick.
Here it is.
Oh, yeah. Tommy's going to be doing some silly things, and you'll see exactly why we're so excited about this archetype. Tommy's onto something with this Legacy deck.
Yeah, not only does it have this Arclight Phoenix Plan A, but the Plan B of Young Pyromancer works so well with Cabal Therapy at helping you disrupt these like slower, grindy decks or those combo decks that are so prevalent in the Legacy format.
We were seeing a lot of Cabal Therapy, Young Pyromancer back in the Deathrite Shaman days. It's something that's cooled off a little bit in in Legacy recently. Tommy looking to bring it back now, though.
Oh, for sure. The Grixis Delver decks seemingly all tilting towards 4 copies of Thought Scour, as well as 4 copies of Gurmag Angler, because it's so much harder to kill via Lightning Bolt, a.k.a. the most played removal spell in the Legacy format.
I think Tommy bottomed both there.
Yep, but he still has access to both flashbacks on Cabal Therapy here.
Yep.
He could take away the Crater Hoof Behemoth and or the Reclamation Sage. And I believe the last card is unknown, but it might be known. I'm not
Natural Order. Natural Order is the other card
sure.
in hand.
And I think that Natural Order is probably the most threatening of those.
Yep.
So let's take away like Reclamation Sage. The Crater Hoof Behemoth could be relatively scary and worth taking just to make sure that Adam doesn't have that big burst. A lot of Elves lists only play 1 copy.
Right. Yeah, Tommy's casting the other Cabal Therapy anyway. May as well take it from the hand. It's the only really threatening card present. And there's some more swings from those Arclight Phoenixes returning to the battlefield, beating Adam Wallace down to 8. He's going to fetch fall to 7. Not a lot of time left for Adam. Going to have to find a really explosive draw here.
Yeah, and even if Tommy is unable to find something like Lightning Bolt or put another Phoenix on the battlefield next turn to threaten lethal from 7 life, the odds that Adam Wallace can do much of anything here after getting hit with 2 Cabal Therapies on the previous turn is very slim.
Yeah, I believe Tommy's still with Days in hand as well for a little disruption.
Whew.
Yeah, nice looking draw from Tommy Ashton.
Yeah, that Wirewood Symbiote not really going to help Adam Wallace too much here. I think he needed something like a string of cards like Elvish Visionary into a Gaia's Cradle and then a Wirewood Symbiote on the follow-up.
We'll say at least Adam Wallace keeping those Dryad Arbors front and center, very present in the attacking part of the battlefield.
This is an interesting spot here for Tommy. He can choose to daze on this Reclamation Sage here. That could give him one less creature on the battlefield for Adam Wallace. So if he is able to draw something like Gaia's Cradle, he has access to one less mana.
Yeah, it's an interesting decision.
Don't think you're going to get much other use out of it. So
Tommy says okay, though. Go right ahead.
On our back table, seems like Ryan Donkin takes game 1 against Benjamin Nikolich. That ad nauseum deck may be a tough road for Jeskai Control.
Oh, yeah. One of the best matchups for ad nauseum, without a doubt. See attacks from the Arclight Phoenixes. Adam's going to fall to 1. Time is about up. What does Adam find?
A Bayou. Not going to do it.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like enough. Flashes the hand. Tommy Ashton with an explosive turn 1. Going to take that game. Let's take a look over at the sideboards here, see what both players have to offer. There you see 3 Tormod's Crypt, 2 Abrade, 2 Echoing Truth, 2 Vendilion Click, 1 Goblin Crater Maker, 1 Flusterstorm, 1 Surgical Extraction, 1 Marsh Casualties, 1 Spell Pierce, and 1 Snuff Out from Tommy Ashton. Todd, what do you like here?
I'm actually super curious about the Tormod's Crypts on Tommy Ashton's side, and a deck featuring both Young Pyromancer and Arclight Phoenix. I'm curious to know why he's not playing just like 3 or maybe even 4 copies of Surgical Extraction, as you see the 1 copy down below there. The rest of the sideboard, I think Abrade, any sort of spot removal is going to be pretty good. Vendilion Click is okay because it flies and can snipe away one of those big payoff cards for the Elf deck. Not a huge fan of Goblin Crater Maker, but it is effectively a 3-mana shock and can kill a creature.
True.
Flusterstorm can occasionally snipe something like Natural Order or Glimpse of Nature.
Yep.
And then Marsh Casualties and Snuff Out, both just solid removal spells against this Elf strat.
Moving on to Adam Wallace's side, we were looking at 4 Leyline of the Void, 3 Cabal Therapy, 2 Abrupt Decay, 2 Choke, 1 Assassin's Trophy, 1 Entourage of Trest. I have no clue what that card is, Todd. 1 Thoughtseize, 1 Gaddock. Please tell me all about the Entourage of Trest.
Please don't do that to me. Why would you do that? You're literally going to throw me under the bus like that? That's some commander or
I set him up
card?
so you can knock him down, Todd. Well done.
Thank you so much. Anyway, the cards that I know are going to be coming in, Adam Wallace here, I think, needs to prevent the explosive draws from the Grixis Phoenix deck. I think Leyline of the Void should be coming in. Not only that, but it bricks the back half of Cabal Therapy, a card that's very powerful against the Elf strategy. I think Abrupt Decay probably staying on the sidelines. Choke is a potential. He did see both Volcanic Island and Underground Sea, and if he is playing the Leyline of the Void, Choke, sideboard plan, both those in tandem, could shut down basically all of Tommy's action. And then, I don't know, maybe Entourage of Trash comes in. I have no idea.
Who knows what it does? So we'll be sure to check that one out for you. We'll get it up on screen
I hate those
once
supplemental
the match.
products, man.
It's tough. It's tough when it comes to the Legacy format.
Oh, Todd, shouldn't you know the 14th best common in the Conspiracy Take the Crown mono green draft archetype?
Well, I'll tell you what, Todd. Maybe when you figure out what Entourage of Trust does, you can highlight it on Versus Live this week.
I could.
That's your namesake. Take it away, Todd. Tell us about Versus Live. Why we should be watching every Tuesday and Thursday? Because I do, by the way. I do watch you on Versus Live every Tuesday and Thursday, even though you don't listen to my podcast. But go ahead, please. Tell us about Versus Live.
I listened to your podcast last week on the drive. Oh, man, I'm just getting railroaded here. Every Tuesday and Thursday, 1 p.m. on this very channel, twitch.tv/SCG Tour. Ross Merriam and myself bring you usually about 3 full matches. Sometimes we play a couple extra games here and there, depending on whether or not we really like the deck and how fast the games are. We just test out all the formats, Modern, Standard, and Legacy, as well as occasionally we delve into some of the sweeter ones. I know we played Brawl once or twice. But not only do we have just Versus Live, we have Commander Versus Live every Wednesday evening, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And that's going to be Justin Parnell, Stephen Green, Jeremy Knoll, and I don't know. Who's the last one? Jonathan Suarez, my good friend.
Not so good that you couldn't forget about him in this moment.
Shut up.
Make sure you check out
Mr.
Commander.
Entourage of Trust. Are you serious?
Make sure you check out Commander
Can
Versus
we get that
Live.
on the screen? All right, our director's pulling up Entourage of Trust. There it is. 5 mana, 4/4 elf. Okay. All right, what is this?
When Entourage of Trust enters the battlefield, you become the Monarch.
Excellent.
Entourage of Trust can block an additional creature each combat as long as you're the Monarch. So it was, in fact, a common from one of these supplementary sets.
And it was green.
It's green. What?
15th best common in the mono green Conspiracy Take the Crown archetype. I called it.
I got nothing here. I mean, where do we want Entourage of Trust? Do you want to guess? Probably not in this matchup.
Any control deck that's not attacking you. Becoming the Monarch is actually very powerful against decks like Miracles, as well as Grixis Control.
Okay, so a neat little find there for the Elves deck. I believe we're looking at a turn 1 Llanowar Elves.
I'm going to go with Fyndhorn Elf.
Okay, that's possible. Tough to tell. But definitely taps for 1 green mana.
You're telling me you don't know your alternate art Fyndhorn Elf from Player Rewards, F&M, or some junk? I don't know, man.
Yeah, believe it or not, I cannot spot that one on the fly.
You know how I know that that's a Fyndhorn Elf? Because there's a random Magic Online promo that is that same art.
Okay.
But I could not for the life of you tell where that one came from.
Yeah, I'm not even going to guess. It is very shiny, though. Looks quite nice there. You see Tommy Ashton going to follow with the Preordained. Take a look at the top 2 of the library.
It's actually a Heritage Druid. My mistake.
Todd.
All right, 1 top, 1 bottom here with the Preordained. Tommy just digging. First some pressure, some disruption. No Leyline of the Void on turn 0 from Adam Wallace, so.
Yeah, Tommy's got to be happy about that.
Oh, yeah.
Turn passes back to Adam. Taking a look at options here. 3 mana at least available to the Elves player. Possibly more. Who knows what kind of guys' Cradle shenanigans are around. Here's a Thoughtseize from Adam Wallace. Going to take a look at Tommy's hand. See a hand of Buried Alive, Dark Ritual, Preordained, 2 Arclight Phoenixes, 1 Marsh Casualties, and I believe Basic Swamp.
Yeah, so this Thoughtseize here, even if it takes Buried Alive, there's still 2 Arclight Phoenixes looming, and if Tommy Ashton's able to find something like Faithless Looting, it can really get the ball rolling next turn. But that Thoughtseize almost surely going to take that Buried Alive because it represents at least 6 Flying Haste power on the following turn.
So, Todd, one of the really interesting things about Tommy's deck list, there's no Faithless Looting here, which is kind of incredible. Tommy's very short.
I've looked at this deck list 4 times.
I know.
Holy
you
crap.
expect it to be there. Tommy is actually very short on ways to discard his Arclight Phoenixes from his hand. It's more about Cabal Therapy.
Right.
He really relies on Cabal Therapy to get them into the graveyard.
No, that's a great point. He also has the ability to brainstorm them back into his deck and then use Buried Alive to dig them out afterwards.
Correct.
I swear, I've actually looked at his deck list. Last night, I actually copied it off of Cardboard Live, the extension we use, so you can see all the players' deck lists. You can look at that right now to see Tommy Ashton's deck list on your left. And I just assumed it had 4 Faithless Looting. Why wouldn't it? Why wouldn't you?
I only know for sure because we got back to the hotel room and all we could talk about was Tommy Ashton's deck, and we were able to source where it came from and where it's been in the past, and pretty authoritatively concluded, nope, no Faithless Looting here, and now seeing the deck list. That is correct. There is not Faithless Looting. So both players continue to develop. Tommy cast another Preordained. Meanwhile, Adam Wallace deployed Nettle Sentinel on his side of the battlefield. Has a 3rd land here, another Bayou. Let's see what the option is. On Adam Wallace's 3rd turn, plenty of mana available. No real threat of counter magic from Tommy. Could be time for something like Natural Order. No, it's a hard cast, Leyline of the Void.
I love it. You draw it off the top of the deck. You don't have it in the opening hand. You cast it on turn 3, and hope is still good enough. And Tommy doesn't have a whole lot of answers to that card.
Yeah, Tommy reliant mostly on Echoing Truth in post-board games to get rid of that.
There's no possible way he has Echoing Truth in his deck right now. I'd bet the farm.
I wouldn't bet as much farm. I think it's possible. I don't think it's certain.
I just want to say something here. My family actually does own a farm.
So you have a farm to bet.
When I bet the farm, I am betting my aunt's farm.
All right. Let's see if we can all own a share of Todd's family farm. Fingers crossed. He will distribute it to all of the viewers right now. We'll all own partial shares. I'll write up the documents. I used to be a lawyer. I can handle that for us.
Thanks, man.
No problem.
No, as long as you're doing it gratis.
So here we're back to Tommy Ashton, tapping the Swamp, going to cast Cabal Therapy, targeting Adam Wallace, not able to effectively put those Arclight Phoenixes in the graveyard anymore. Don't know what the name was there, but it appears it was a miss. Actually, we're hearing the name was Natural Order.
Yeah, and with those 2 1-mana creatures in Adam Wallace's hand, those aren't the ones that Tommy Ashton's deck is usually afraid of, so not a surprising miss there on that Cabal Therapy. Marsh Casualties in hand, though, for Tommy Ashton, along with that Dark Ritual. So he has the ability to kick it with just one more source of mana to clean up all these small creatures, but it looks like we have something a little bit bigger than a small creature coming out right now. That's a Scavenging Ooze. And alongside the Finhorn Elf and the Bayou, we can grow that thing up by eating some of the creatures in our own graveyard.
Scavenging Ooze actually a main deck one of for Adam Wallace.
Yep, that's a fairly common thing for Green Sun Zenith decks of all flavors to have, even though it is not an elf. When you have a bunch of extra mana, it can check opposing graveyard strategies, as well as just grow to a significantly larger size than any of your other creatures are really capable of doing by themselves.
Absolutely. Some updates from the back tables. You see Mitchell Garrant with a win over Timothy Wu. Sultai midrange besting Azorius aggro. We also have an update from the Ad Nauseam versus Jeskai Control matchup. Ad Nauseam on top of Jeskai Control 2-0. As I said, one of Ad Nauseam's favorite things to see across the table is a control deck. So Tommy has cast Marsh Casualties with Kicker, with the help of those Dark Rituals.
Yep, and with no creature in the graveyard to eat, that -2/-2 ability just enough to take care of that Scavenging Ooze. But Adam wanted to push. There's no way we have a Morph token, right? There's no way we have a Morph token in the kit, right?
That would be a very heads-up inclusion, I will say that.
I don't even remember the last time I saw a Morph outside of
it's been a minute.
Cons of Tarkir Standard.
I actually think I forgot that Birchlore Rangers even had Morph, but that is what we're looking at, a face-down Birchlore Rangers right now.
There it is.
Oh, look at that.
Oh, that's Morph number 3. That's not the right one.
Close
Come
enough.
on, Table Spotter. Come on, Table
so
Spotter.
close.
There it is. Yes! The right Morph.
So Tommy says it's time to race. He deploys a full-cost Arc-like Phoenix. We know there's another one in hand.
Yep. And
Adam's got to get on board. I think this is a legitimate race if Tommy's able to go a few turns in a row with Arc-like Phoenixes. But here come the troops from Adam. You see a Nettle Sentinel and a Wirewood Symbiote.
All right. Well, now that we have access to enough mana to start casting these Arc-Light Phoenix, I bet the second one's going to come down here. But Tommy also wants to dig for a bit of interaction. Things like Lightning Bolt are still in his deck to take care of these creatures. I would guess stuff like a Braid is also in the running. But it is going to be a pretty big racing scenario. And this is the beauty of something like Arc-Light Phoenix. You can just hardcast it.
Right.
This Leyline of the Void, stifling the buried alive type stuff that Tommy might have going on. But that got taken by a Thoughtseize early in the game. And now he's got to rely on hardcasting his Arc-Light Phoenixes to get the job done. But he plays one here, attacks for 6, sends Adam all the way down to 8, and a single Lightning Bolt on the following turn could end it.
Tommy has that Lightning Bolt in hand, by the way. I'm fairly confident that's what he found when he was casting the Preordain. Let's be 100% sure. The red cards look alike sometimes, but I think that attack signifies that Tommy knew he had the capability to win the race.
All right, and just another Nettle Sentinel here. And I believe an attack for 6 plus Lightning Bolt is going to claim this game. And we're going to have a deciding match over on the standard portion with Timothy Wu and Mitchell Garrant.
There is the 6, and there's the Lightning Bolt. Tommy Ashton taking down Elves.
Impressive stuff.
Oh, yeah, that deck looks so sweet. I am into
Void
this
got
Grixis Phoenix
nothing.
stuff.
All right.
So we are going to be looking at Sultai midrange versus Azorius aggro to determine this match. Sultai midrange has the edge as it stands right now, but this is a matchup we've seen a fair bit as the format has developed.
Yeah, just last round we actually saw Jim Davis take down the Sultai deck. Jim Davis being a very prominent player, our own Ari Lax, both long-standing players on not only the SCG Tour, but both riding for Star City Games at different points in time. Jim has moved on to greener pastures, working for Cool Stuff Inc. down in Florida. But we're glad to have him on Team BCW and attending all of our events. And it was good to see him pull out that match against Arilax last round.
Yeah, and I think that matchup has a ton to do with sideboard strategies. I think it's
Absolutely.
all about how those two decks can adapt to the plans of each other in post-board games. Azorius aggro has that blue splash in part for Deputy Detention, also in large part, though, for the sideboard options.
Right, and cards like Negate, Disdainful Stroke. These are things that the deck now has access to thanks to the addition of Hallowed Fountain to the archetype with the introduction of Azorius into the standard format. I don't know. Last match when I was watching Jim Davis versus Ari Lax, it was a lot about Nikolich Honor Guard.
Yeah.
But on top of that, it was a lot about Benalish Marshall. And Jim drew 3 of them, and it came down to the wire. He ended up needing all 3 to punch through just normal large creatures like Thrashing Bronodon. But it sounds like we're ready to go down in the feature match area. Let's go ahead and get to the deciding match here. Let's see who takes it down between Timothy Wu and Mitchell Garrant. Sultai midrange versus Azorius aggro.
Sultai midrange, of course, up a game. The other 2 matches were split between the 2 teams. And there you see Timothy Wu leading with Sky Marcher Aspirant. Mitchell Garrant has the response of Tapped Watery Grave. Tim Wu with a follow-up 1-drop in the form of Dauntless Bodyguard. Going to attack for 2. Mitchell falls to 18. Mitchell's going to untap that Watery Grave, take a draw.
Looks like Timothy actually has a Baffling End in hand, which is a phenomenal answer to something Wild Growth Walker here in the early stages of this game. Wild Growth Walker, a particularly strong tool for these Sultai midrange decks to not only stifle the aggression by putting up a decent-sized body with high toughness, but also potentially gaining a lot of life if the Azorius deck doesn't have a removal spell. Timothy
Wu with 3 Baffling Ends in the post-board games. Certainly knows that this is a key point of interaction. Also 3 Tocatli Honor Guard floating around, a Disdainful Stroke, 3 Negates, a Spell Pierce. I think there's a lot of options for Tim here. It wouldn't surprise me if he's bringing in a load of cards and getting a lot better in post-board games.
Got the spotter there giving them the right dice for the history of Benalia. When you're going over the history of the plane of Benalia, you need to have the right equipment, and that is the correct dice.
Absolutely. Never leave home without the correct dice. Follow up from Mitchell here. It's Golden Demise. That's a good one.
Wee. I haven't seen that one in a minute.
Interesting to see that instead of Cry of the Carnarium.
Yep. The Exile ability is pretty good against the Afterlife creatures, but you can get into some really sticky board stalls with this Sultai midrange deck against the Azorius aggro deck. And something like the Ascend on Golden Demise is quite good at keeping your creatures alive while taking care of most of your opponents.
You see that card showed up just in time. Tim Wu pumping up one of the Night tokens with Venerated Loxodon. A decent follow-up considering just was Wrathed, essentially. Board is present right now.
Seems to be a lot of arguing over which color of die to use. Branch Walker here, going to put a counter on the Wild Growth Walker, explore a little deeper, gain 3 life. Adam Wallace's life total not really in jeopardy. Timothy needs something big over the next few turns.
Branch Walker going to draw a land. Plays a Breeding Pool, tap, passes back to Tim. Tim's going to take a look at the top of the deck. And there goes History of Benalia, making that Knight into a 5/4 Vigilance creature for this turn.
And here's a spot where I think we're ready for battle. Baffling End going to take care of that Wild Growth Walker. The Knight has 5 power coming in with Vigilance. Deluxe on 4 power. That's a swing for 9. Going to send Mitch all the way down to 12 if he has no blocks.
Big creatures coming to rumble on that turn.
Important to note, no access to blue mana currently for Timothy Wu. Does he have those sideboard cards in his deck? Does he need access to blue mana? We'll find out soon enough.
Let's see what Mitchell has here. It's a Jade Light Ranger. Let's do some exploring, see what the top of the library yields.
Now we're going to keep that one twice.
There's Mrs. Crassus ready to enter the battlefield and do some damage very soon. Mitchell just going to make the big Jade Light Ranger pass the turn back to Tim. Takes a peek at the top of the deck. Conferring with his teammates. Tim going to play the 5th land. 5 lands is a lot for this white aggressive deck.
Yeah, a second Baffling In, though, going to take care of that 4 power creature. We're going to swing in this time for 11. If no blocks for Mitchell Garrant, that's going to send him all the way down to 1. Oh, nope, I messed up. Forgot the History of Benalia last turn was pumping. So this is an attack for, looks like, 9.
Yep, potential attack for 9. I think Mitchell's going to look to do a little blocking here. Yes, absolutely. Going to protect the life total a little bit. Just takes 4. Going to fall to 8. Big turn for Mitchell coming up. Yep. Here we go. Crassus 4-4. Drawing 2 cards. Gaining 2 life. Goes back to 10. Has a blocker for the Marshal. The other creatures size fairly well into the Crassus. The Venerated locks it on bigger. Knight able to trade. So we'll see what happens on this next turn for Tim.
Yeah, my guess is
removal spell, very big deal here.
Yeah, absolutely. Another Baffling End, a Conclave Tribunal. These cards should seal the deal.
Tim takes a slow peel. I don't think it's a removal spell. We would have seen the Windmill Slam there.
Oh, yeah. There's no slow rolling in this spot. Not with a Game 3 looming and the whole match on the line.
Tim does make those attacks with the creatures capable of trading with the Crassus.
Chooses to soak it. Going to 1 life. What's the follow-up here for Timothy Wu? Can he deploy another threat? Is there a finality coming next turn?
Have to think so, right, with that decision by Mitchell.
Finality is the bane of these Azorius aggro decks, cleaning up all these creatures. It is the sole reason why they started playing things like Tithe Taker over Adato Vanguard, things like Hunted Witness over a lot of these other 1-mana options.
I see Thrashing Brontodon, 2 lands. I'm not entirely sure what the other card is.
Well, if he turns that Hydroid Crassus sideways, you got to bet your bottom dollar that's finality's coming, but doesn't look like it's there. We got to put up 2 roadblocks here to make sure we don't die in combat.
Here's the first. It's a Jade Light Ranger.
Now we're digging for finality and another Hydroid Crassus.
Lots of lands going to hand. I know there's a follow-up in Thrashing Brontodon available for Mitchell. There it is. Enters the battlefield. Can make some blocks here, but the clock is now ticking with Mitchell on 1.
Yeah, and if Timothy's able to just provide another creature onto the battlefield, that can force basically Mitchell to have to do the same next turn. Timothy can seal the game here with a removal spell on the Hydroid Crassus.
Tim's going to have to think carefully about attacks here.
If he decides to just ship in with both of the larger creatures and hold back the Banash Marshal, there's going to have to be a double block and a trade, I believe. Oh, no, actually, there is not a double block and a trade available here, is there? Yeah, there is. But it would actually clean up the entire side of Mitchell's battlefield. So the Thrashing Brontodon and Jade Light both double block on the Venerated Luxodon, but that's only 5 toughness combined there.
I think you make the other blocks. You double block on the lower power creature.
Well, it's only a 4/4. You could just trade that with the oh, I love this play. Using the Thrashing Brontodon as a chump blocker.
3/3. Yeah,
and
great
gets
play.
to trade that for the 3/3 off of the Baffling End. Heads up spot by Mitchell Garrant for sure.
Yeah, that is a big difference maker. And now Mitchell has some more turns to take a look at the top of the deck.
To Cotley, Honor Guard.
Nice follow-up there from Tim.
Absolutely. And this will potentially shut off any sort of life gain that Mitchell could follow up with something like Wild
Mitchell
Growth
just
Walker.
begging for fine finality off the top.
What was it? I want to know. Flash me. Is that Doom Whisperer?
I think Doom Whisperer.
That's a big boy.
And here comes the Doom Whisperer. Again, Mitchell just looking for effective blocks here, finding a way to stay alive, trying to extend the game, trying to draw to that powerful sweeper effect.
Yeah, looks like basically no
Tim's
good
reaching for
attacks.
some mana.
Woo!
Here's a Baffling End, and that does it. Mitchell had flooded out. We're going to go to a game 3. Wow. It seemed like Mitchell was in a pretty good spot for a while there. I think the top of the deck was just unkind. Mitchell kind of giving a little shake of the head there, saying, yeah, we just got a little unlucky maybe.
Yeah, Timothy's draws there very good in the early turns. Had basically 1 turn of stumbling that gave Mitchell a chance to claw back into it. He made a great block with the Thrashing Brontodon and kind of trade that chump block and still kept a 3/3 around after killing that Baffling End. Couldn't quite hang on, though, as Timothy finds the removal spell, seal the deal.
High pressure spot here as this match goes to a deciding game 3 in the 3rd and final match.
Yeah.
We talked a little bit about what Tim Wu may be doing post-sideboard. We saw the Baffling Ends play a tremendous role there. If you want to take a look at the sideboards, head over to Cardboard Live. You'll see exactly what the players are working with. Why don't we take a peek on our end at what Mitchell is doing? A few options there. We saw Golden Demise have an impact on the game. Really purposeful, meaningful choice to play Golden Demise over Cry the Coronarium for Mitchell. What other stuff you like in the sideboard? I think we saw the Doom Whisperers come in. Those are not main deck inclusions.
Yep, Thrashing Bronon definitely came in as well.
Yep.
That's about it. The rest of the sideboard seems to be like an anti-Wilderness Reclamation / control package with 4 copies of Duras, 2 Disdainful Stroke, 2 Negate. But Golden Demise, Doom Whisperer, Thrashing Bronon, these cards can all come in and kind of replace some of the slower ends of this Sultai Crassus mid-range strategy. From the other side of things, Timothy Wu, we saw quite a bit of his sideboard options. He has 3 Baffling in the sideboard, saw all 3 of those. 3 Tocatli Honor Guard, saw 1 of those. He has the option to bring in things like Negate and Spell Pierce, but I don't think they have quite a big enough impact in this matchup. Also has 3 copies of Ajani, Adversary of Tyrants. If he wants a way to potentially push his creatures out of range of Finality, I think Ajani is a good bet. But on top of that, if it becomes a very heavy removal back and forth fest, having something like Ajani that effectively can present 2 threats or help your creatures size up better against these larger bodies from the Sultai deck, I think both those things make Ajani pretty easy inclusion after sideboard.
I also think it depends a lot on how important Tim feels Tocatli Honor Guard is, because while it used to be lights out against the old Golgari decks, I think these Sultai decks have a lot more options. Something like Hydroid Crassus lets them play a longer game.
Right.
They aren't as reliant on doing the Merfolk Branchwalker, Jadelight Ranger stuff in the early turns. Not to say that Tocatli Honor Guard isn't a super effective card against them, because it is. It's just not as effective as it maybe used to be against the Golgari builds.
Yeah, I mean, Hydroid Crassus being a cast effect as opposed to an enters the battlefield effect does negate a bit of the strength of Tocatli Honor Guard, but as we saw in the previous match between Jim Davis and Ari Lax, it's still very strong. Shutting down Wild Growth Walker is a big deal. Turning off the Explore package to make sure that they maybe stumble on some of their land drops. We saw Ari Lax basically get stuck on 3 lands for a little while. He finally found the 4th land, was able to cast a couple of Vraska's Contents, but was just too far behind because he missed a couple land drops because all his Explore creatures got turned off.
Todd, what's going through your head in this position that Tim is in right now, where your teammates' basically hopes and dreams for this entire tournament are just resting on your shoulders?
Yeah, a loss here is basically game over for Tommy Ashton, Benjamin Nikolich, and Timothy Wu, with him on the draw this game after taking game 2. He's going to need a good one. He's going to need a lot of strong cards here, some sideboard cards especially, and he's going to hope to keep his team's dreams alive.
Both players having a chat with their teammates. Big mulligan decisions here.
Yeah, if I wanted anyone whispering my ear, though, when I was thinking about whether or not to mulligan, it would be Tommy Ashton. Dude is a master. Stone cold babyface killer. Look at that face.
Absolutely. If you don't know Tommy Ashton, he wins every Magic Online PTQ ever.
Yep.
Just 100% of them.
I believe the only reason he doesn't win all of them is because once he wins one, he is no longer allowed to play the rest of the season.
Right.
He's Steinerson on Magic Online. He's been a fixture of the Pro Tour scene for over a decade. As long as I can remember, being a part of the Pro Tour myself and the Grand Prix circuit and everything like that, Tommy has been around. Old school master.
Yeah, I actually think the first time I met Tommy was at my first Pro Tour, and this was back in something like 2011. So been around for a while. You see Mitchell is on a mulligan 2-6. Going to draw the 6 here. Take a look.
Yeah, but the Sultai mid-range deck actually mitigates mulligans quite well with things like Merfolk Branchwalker and Jadelight Ranger. A lot of times, I mean, you saw last game, the game ended with Mitchell Garrant still having 3-4 lands in hand. He needs to hit those land drops, obviously, but as long as his Explorer package is online and Tocatli Honor Guard is not gumming up the works, there's a chance he gets out of this mulligan pretty easily.
Yeah, great point. Those Explorer creatures are fantastic at mitigating early mulligans. There you see a Legion's Landing from Tim Wu, getting onto the battlefield very quickly.
So no green mana yet from the Sultai mid-range side, but I thought I saw Golden Demise hanging out over there in Mitchell Garrant's hand. We'll see how Timothy Wu wants to play these opening turns. How exposed does he want to make himself to something like Golden Demise here on turn 3?
Definitely a big decision already from Tim Wu. To what extent is Tim going to develop the battlefield? Here you see an attack with the 1/1 Lifelinger, going to drop Mitchell down to 19 as Tim rises to 21. The follow-up is Tocatli Arnagard. Hope you weren't relying on those Explore creatures to fix your mana.
Yeah, I mean, this is a weird spot because the Tocatli Arnagard is very clearly a fine card in the matchup. But without access to a second green on turn 3, there's no Jade Light Ranger coming down. So
True.
there's a chance that Tocatli Arnagard is not actually stifling anything. Then again, Mitchell Garrant could be a pretty mana-heavy hand that has Golden Demise, as well as something like Hostage Taker or Ravenous Chupacabra, and is relying on that on turn 4 to make up for this Tipo black hole that he's put himself in. Nothing on turn 1, 2, or 3.
I think you'd also just have to acknowledge that Tocatli Arnagard is a 1/3 as well, so living through any Golden Demise that Mitchell may deploy. Here's a Dauntless Bodyguard. That's going to go ahead and protect the Tocatli Arnagard from any spot removal spells. Does Tim have a follow-up? Yes, indeed. Loxodon. Venerated Loxodon.
It's just a 4/4, though. That Tocatli Arnagard playing spoiler here for that really powerful ability that Venerated Loxodon can supply.
Still seems like a powerful play in this situation, and there's a little bit of anti-synergy in Tim's deck there, but I think overall he's happy to have a 4/4 on the battlefield in this spot. And you do see Mitchell's hand. It is stocked with Golden Demises, 2 of them, in fact. Here's a Snubhorn Sentry.
Yeah, there's 4 creatures.
And City's Blessing is met.
4 creatures about to rumble here from Timothy Wu's side, which is going to, even through the Vraska's Contempt, is going to transform that Legion's Landing into a Donto the First Fort. Vraska's Contempt going to eat the Tocatli Arnagard, gaining some life, but he's still going to take a pretty big hit here for 7.
Yeah, but this Azorius aggro deck flips a Donto the First Fort. Now it's ready to grind.
Right, and it can fight through sweepers, it can fight through spot removal, and it can fight through board clogs. Making a 1/1 token every turn for 4 mana is pretty powerful.
Here you see Ravenous Chupacabra. Believe that's probably going to take out the Loxodon. It does.
The biggest threat that's there for sure.
And now those Golden Demises can maybe do some work for Mitchell. They can't take care of the Snubhorn Sentry. They don't do anything about Adonto the First Fort. They clean up any tokens, but there'll be more in the future. So I don't know if Golden Demise is going to be enough for Mitchell to hold the fort. I think the outcome of this game is still very much up in the air, though.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we saw Mitchell do nothing until turn 4 with the Vraska's Contempt, and then 5 on Chupacabra. He's still at 14 life. He's going to eat a token here, taking a chunk of damage. Looks like 6 down to 8. Timothy's going to gain a couple points and just keep grinding away on that Adonto First Fort. And he doesn't really have to apply anything else to the battlefield until Mitchell makes another play.
Yeah, I think that's right, but Tim has to be a little anxious. You really, as the Azorius aggro player, would love to end the game in those first few turns, especially given that Mitchell forfeited turns 1, 2, and 3. No plays in any of those 3 turns. Tim unable to really make that much of a dent in Mitchell's life total. This attack helps. It drops Mitchell even lower, down to 8 now. There you see Untapped Hollowed Fountain. That suggests that Tim has Disdainful Stroke, negate something that can mess with Mitchell's plans here.
Yeah, I mean, it could be Finality, it could be Golden Demise, whatever it is, it's probably getting countered here. An attack here with the Ravenous Chupacabra. Maybe it was a bluff. Shocking here, you know, his life total is pretty high off that Hallowed Fountain. And if he has a negate for this sweeper effect, Mitchell's dead.
Let's see. Here is the Golden Demise. Tim not windmill slamming anything. It was absolutely a bluff. First of all, great play from Tim Wu. Second of all, Mitchell says, I don't care. Here's my Golden Demise.
He has no choice.
Right.
He's basically bottlenecked into casting his spell. But that Adonto, the First Fort, still active. Snubhorn Sentry surviving. If Mitchell doesn't have a follow-up here, that's 4 power coming across, as well as just a continual churning out of 1/1 bodies over the next few turns.
How about a second Golden Demise?
I like it.
Cleaning up that Snubhorn Sentry?
I like it. Got to get that 3 power off the table.
Yeah. That's going to be a sticking point.
Yeah. I think the players are trying to guarantee that a second land was not played this turn. I am fairly confident one was not. We're going to make a 1/1 end of turn here. Timothy Wu is going to try to rebuild after that 2-card sweeper.
Tim, very happy to have Adonto the First Fort online right now, reliant on it in a game that proceeds in this fashion to be able to rebuild a board after multiple sweepers.
Yeah,
Let's see what's left in Mitchell's hand. Just a tap land here. There's a second token. These tokens will end the game quickly if not answered.
Yeah, and this is why Adonto the First Fort is so powerful in these White Weenie decks. Not only does it count as a 1-drop threat, but once you transform it, you can ramp up to a more expensive like 4-mana spell like a Johnny, Adversary of Tyrants, but also as the game progresses, you get sweeper protection. You get guaranteed threats over and over and over.
There is Tocatli Honor Guard. Just in time as Mitchell chooses to buy back Ravenous Chupacabra with Memorial to Folly. Chupacabra enters, does nothing, just there to be on blocking duty.
Yeah, and he has to put up something. It looks like he is basically out of gas. He's going to need a finality and then some. Something like Hydrocrassus would be perfect right now.
Yep.
A main phase activation of Adonto the First Fort. This has to be some sort of convoke spell.
Let's see. Tim taps another mana. No, it's a second copy of Adonto the First Fort. Eventually, there's going to be an attack here. First, it's Legion's Landing, putting the token onto the battlefield.
All right, now the attack here is going to transform that Legion's Landing, and then the land from hand is actually going to allow Timothy Wu to make another vampire during Mitchell Garrett's instep.
Good mana maximization from Tim Wu there.
Yeah, he's going to take 3 points, losing a token. Make sure we clean that one off the battlefield. One of the tokens should be gone. All right, and that's going to do it. Just a Land World from Mitchell Garrant. Plenty of creatures coming back next turn for Timothy Wu, and his team's dreams of top 8 are still alive.